Actually born in Torrance, California.
I was born and raised in Denver.
I was born and raised in Arkansas.
I'm originally from Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan.
I was born in New Jersey from American parents, but I grew up in Columbia. My earliest memory was when I was 4 years old. We were up in the mountains about 12 hours by horse back from the nearest road where we spent the summer. My mother was a missionary, and she would spend part of the year in the city where we lived, which was named Pasto, Colombia. And I remember that during that birthday party, I received the gift of a live chicken. And that was my birthday present. And I thought that was pretty great, actually.
It was a Sunday, and I remember that. I don't know how I remember, but I even can see myself what I had on that day. It was Easter, and I had a little hat on with my poofy, dressy dress, and had my little string purse, and we were going to church. And I remember it so vividly because I said, "Bye-bye, Daddy." And so I was like, 2 or 3 years old, and that's my earliest memory.
My mom always used to laugh the first time she remembered a boy coming to the house to ask if I was there. I was out in the back in a tree. We had a little mimosa tree. It wasn't that big, but I was always playing, and yeah, I didn't like dolls.
I think as a child I was really sensitive, to other people's problems and their challenges, and sometimes I was criticized for that. Like if I was standing up for somebody at a playground because they were having a difficult time or a moment, and I could tell that they were having, like a meltdown or challenges, and trying to want to help them, and being, criticized for being so sensitive.
Well, what was I like as a kid? I was pretty high energy. My mother always said I walk too fast, I talk too fast, and I eat too fast. I'm sure people around here would like to tell me to slow down as well. When I was 16, I was taking high school by correspondence, and pretty much isolated from social circles. So my mother felt that it was wisest for me to go back into the States, which turned out to be quite a culture shock, let's say. I looked like I'd come out off Mars as far as my dress and my demeanor, how I looked, and I landed in a public high school that was very much into the 50s with the Fonzie look. She always acted like we were trustworthy, and all I had was her trust. And there was no way I was going to break that trust. But I love public health, so I have a master's in public health from Columbia, and I love public health. So I always wanted to practice in the community, not in hospital or in institutions. But my master's thesis was actually on hospice, even though I wasn't working in it yet. I loved public health, so I worked in the public health department in Harlem for 2 years, which was really a very exciting time. I didn't really realize what I was getting myself into, because the area that I was working in had the highest incidence of drug addiction and drug dealing of anywhere in the world. Well, the most inspiring thing to me is my own dad's dying, really. And he was on hospice. In the end, he was very, very hard of hearing. So I said to him, everyone is talking to you, but no one is asking you, what can we do? So he said, just make me well. And I said, well, Daddy, it's your heart. Done pretty much everything. And he just paused for a minute, and he goes, why am I so lucky?
meaning, and then all of a sudden he just passed. But it was, you know, it was beautiful. The sun was shining, he was comfortable, and just was very smooth. And so to me, that is like a beautiful death. And I think when I think about our patients, even though I said no one has the same story, they don't have the same story, but I think we're very successful in bringing people to that same point where they can really feel like, you know, I'm ready.
You know, the hospital, you're go, go, go. And here, when you get to go to somebody's home, you get to be with them. And it's better because you are just having that one-on-one time with them, and you can help them meet their needs and also get to know them on a real personal level. Real personal, you know, and they appreciate you, I appreciate them.
Praying with my patients was probably some of the best times I've ever had. I have one patient I remember. He had asked me before he got to the point where he couldn't speak if I would please, because his wife was alone and both of their children were out of state. He says, would you please come and spend the time with her while I'm dying? I made that commitment, and one Saturday she called me and she says, Chris, I need you to come. And that whole time her and I were talking about the good things that they had done in life and how he had set things up for her to be taken care of after he was gone. He was a very strong believer, and that was always encouraging because she was a very strong believer. My faith grew probably the most when I was out in the field, just spending time with patients and getting to hold their hands and listen to them and be encouraging to them. That's what I lived for.
I was Betty's nurse for 2 years. She ended up being on hospice for a long time. And my mom's name was Betty also. There were so many similarities. It was really interesting. She had a lot of kids. My mom, Betty, had a lot of kids. All the different things that we talked about, you know, involving her kids and her life and her marriage and stuff. We would, after, you know, I did the vital signs and checked her medications and all that, I think she just kind of really wanted to talk. And it was really a nice friendship that developed over that time. And another one of our nurses as well, too. You know, we celebrated her birthdays and Christmas. And it's interesting, too, because around the time that she started to get really sick was when my mom did. And they died within days of each other. Seriously, yeah. So I knew that time would come for both of them. But, yeah, I'll always remember her, though. And she was quite a character. She was special.
I did have a patient when I first started in the hospice who he and his wife lived in Tustin, and they had a daughter who lived nearby. And this couple had been together since, you know, like their early 20s, and now here they were like 60-something years later, and they were still together, supporting each other. And the husband was actually the patient on our services, and he was this brilliant man who would write, you know, novels, and he would write, you know, manuals for the Navy. And the wife, I would get in, you know, sit and talk with her, drink tea. And when he finally passed away, this lady broke down and cried because she was saying, I will not have you guys anymore. I won't have my team. I won't have my rock. And, you know, it was really heartbreaking and inspirational at the same time, because here we were, people, strangers coming into her home to help her take care of her husband and to make his journey more comfortable. And she was looking at us like family, you know, and he's like, and she felt a loss. She felt a loss for her husband, but she also felt a loss for her hospice team. And so that inspired me to always, you know, treat people as if they were my family. You know, the same way that I would want someone to treat my family, that's how I go out and treat other people's family. So that gave me a lot of inspiration right there.
My early years here at Hospice Care of the West, I'm going on 10 years here, it was interesting doing a startup hospice. I worked with great people, though. You know, even though it was a startup and there was just a small team, we were a good little team. And I was on call a lot, and I paid my dues, but we just kept going, and it started to grow little by little. We'd add more, staff.
But that's one of the things I enjoy about the job, not only taking care of the patients, but the staff that takes care of the patients. That's really important to me. It's very important to me, and I'm sure to everyone here. That's why I enjoy working here, because I think that's the culture here. And I'm not sure that's everywhere. That the culture basically to make sure that everyone, functions in a smooth, harmonious way and have the things they need to do their job. Not only with computers or telephones or cell phones, but in every way, that you've created a culture of mutual support, and teamwork. You can go far if you do that, and I think that happens, definitely happens here. It's a good place.
It's kind of like having brothers and sisters that I never had with the people here. Some of them are a lot younger than me, and they're old enough to be my children. Some of them are old enough to be my mom. And it's kind of interesting to see how this Hospice Care of the West family combines and supports each other.
And I think that the positive approach that we have taken with the celebration puts a different focus on support, giving support. We all, we could all look at what needs to happen, but I think it's really positive to be able to see what has happened and what's good about what we do and how we do it well.
How can you work as a team if you never see the people you work with? So in order for it to be a team, you need to be with these people sometime or another. So I think the celebration brings that together, where you're face to face with people that you work with. You get to know who they are. You just know that you're working together for one goal, and that's for the betterment of our patient.
From my father, I really learned how important it is to have a sense of deep appreciation and also a generous heart. I think those two things are really incredible.
You have to make memories while you can, because you never know. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's all you can leave behind is memories.
You don't wait till you're going to die to become the person you want to be. You become the person you want to be every day of your life, because that's all you've got.